The book I chose to do is Fault in Our Stars by John Green, and the illustrator is Rodrigo Corral. A little bit about John Green is that he is the #1 New York Times best-selling author. He has books such as Looking for Alaska and Abundance of Catherine's Paper Towns, as well as The Fault in Our Stars. John Green was born on August 24th, 1977. He won the Pritzker Award in 2006 for the book Looking for Alaska, and he also was debuted at #1 on the New York Times bestseller list in January of 2012 after Fault in Our Stars came out. I chose this book because it is a great example of how people can fight cancer and have a positive mindset while doing so. Also, I just think it's a great book for like the age range of 10 to 14 because you're kind of fighting a lot of things and it teaches you to fight for whatever you want and kind of like overcome everything. And this book won the Goodreads Choice Awards Best Young Adult Fiction. The topic of this book is about cancer, and a summary of this book is that it is about a young teenage girl who has been diagnosed with lung cancer, and she starts to attend a cancer support group. And at first, she's kind of reluctant to go to this group because she thinks it's dumb and she just doesn't want to go. And then she soon realizes that it is a good idea. And Hazel then meets a boy named Augustus Waters, and she continues to go to the group and she continues to like it and get close with Augustus, and then they eventually start to hang out outside of the group and go to each other's houses. And eventually, before Augustus dies, Hazel and Augustus travel to meet the writer that they have been contacting over the book that she keeps reading. And they finally get to meet him. And soon after they get back, Augustus unfortunately passes away. And Hazel didn't really realize that Augustus was as sick as he was. Did you know that 12.7 million people are diagnosed with cancer each year? I learned so many facts about researching the topic of cancer. There was a lot that I actually didn't know about it, and by researching this, it actually helped me to learn new things. The first thing I learned is that tobacco use is the single largest preventable cause of cancer in the world, causing 22% of cancer deaths. The American Cancer Society estimates that in 2013, 174,000 cancer deaths will be caused by tobacco use. So this is kind of a good thing, so you can kind of encourage people to quit smoking so that we can decrease that number year by year. Second thing I learned is that in 2012, there were approximately 13.7 Americans with a history of cancer still alive, so that's good. Third thing I learned is cancer is a group of diseases characterized by uncontrolled growth and spread of abnormal cells, and that there are 100 types of cancer, and any part of the body can actually be affected. The fourth thing I learned is that anyone can develop cancer, however, the risk of getting it increases with age, and that most cases occur in middle-aged adults or older. About 77% of all cancers are diagnosed in people 55 years or older. I thought that was interesting because I definitely thought the age was lower. The fifth thing I researched or found interesting was that cancer is the second most common cause of death in the US. It accounts for nearly 1 in 4 deaths. The sixth thing I learned is that excluding skin cancer, breast cancer is the most commonly diagnosed cancer in women. And the last thing, so number 7, is that approximately 580,000 Americans are expected to die of cancer in the year 2013, and that's almost 1,600 people in a day. The author chose to write about illnesses because a lot of times people think that they are entirely defined by their illness or disability, but actually they aren't. It's just that they're sick and that they are still a human and are capable of doing things. And he basically says that his experience has always been that the people who were chronically ill are also so many other things, and that they're capable of love and they have all the same desires as other people. Their lives are every bit as rich and complex and important and meaningful as any others. And I just thought that was very interesting that he had that to say, and that's why he wrote the book. Because it is true, like, people do look down on others if they have an illness or a disability because they think they're not good enough, or that they think people without disabilities think they are superior to people with. So I actually love that that is his reasoning as to why he wrote this book. Even though this book is inspired by a young woman who lost her battle to thyroid cancer, it still is a work of fiction. The Fault in Our Stars is a book whose narrative structure is a simple way to understand yet divide into sections, but it is written in a way that the reader feels many emotions during the different changes throughout the book. The organizational pattern of this book is definitely in sequence. It goes by like starting like Hazel gets sick, she has to go to like the meeting, she meets Augustus, they meet the writer, Augustus eventually passes away and Hazel ends up living. So it's definitely a sequence of events. Fault in Our Stars is actually written in the perspective of its protagonist, which is actually 16-year-old Hazel. And over the course of the novel, it becomes very easy for the reader to become attached to the characters of the book due to John Green's ability to get the audience to connect with both of the characters. The organizational tools of this is it does have a table of contents of like each chapter and like what the chapter is going to be about. And then the graphics and visual features, so there's no actual like pictures or like graphs within the book, but within the detailed writing, it definitely gives you the visual that you want, and you can definitely see what is going on at all times without actually having a physical picture there. The book enhances my understanding of the topic of cancer because it kind of goes through like what Hazel and Augustus have to go through during their treatments and like all the doctors and meetings and kind of what everything happen, like all the things that happen within having cancer. It definitely teaches you things you don't know. Like Hazel has to have like the breathing treatment machine with her at all times. So like I thought that was interesting because she has lung cancer. So it just kind of enhanced my understanding by like explaining it in depth and kind of going through the process of what they go through. The age appropriate for this book would definitely be more towards the 14-year-olds due to there is some cussing, there's definitely some sexual activity between Hazel and Augustus. So for the 10-year-olds, I think it's a little too provocative, and the language barrier there. Most parents probably don't want their kid to read that. And it definitely teaches the teenagers of like what's going on because they're getting to that age of 16, so they kind of understand what's going on and like this could possibly happen to them, so like they know how to like deal with it. I would definitely recommend this book. It definitely has a lot of lessons it teaches, not just about cancer, but how to be positive and like not judge someone that has a disability or illness, and that they are just as great as someone who does not. Definitely going on with this. I think it is an overall good book in that it should be something almost required as you get into high school as like one of the books you read for a project, because it's like real life activities and like real life scenarios that could happen to someone at any time. So I think it's just an overall good book to read.